I also want to provide some clarity for the board, because I hear this repeated all the time, that the university broke its promise with the governor relative to that 554 plan not to raise tuition. I was doing a little research, going back and looking at some items, and clearly in May of 2012, the Regents engaged in the Committee on Finance a pretty healthy discussion on what we would need in order to move forward with what we felt were the funding needs for the university at that particular time. And what the Regents were told was that we need about 6% on the general fund and 6% on the tuition side. In July of that same year, we repeated that presentation in conjunction with our discussion with you on your support for Prop 30, and the assumptions remained the same. Now, clearly, that wasn't something that transpired when the governor released his subsequent budget after Prop 30, but nevertheless, I don't think we've ever been shy about indicating what those revenue assumptions would be. We've never had a promise, because I've been your point person working in Sacramento all this time in my discussions with the Department of Finance on the agreement. So if anyone would know, I think I would clearly know. And I think it is things like the Working Smarter initiative that have been the benefit to allow us to drop some of those assumptions, but recognize that the university cannot survive on just the 4% general fund increase alone. So I wanted to bring that to attention, because I hear people say that somehow the university broke a promise, and that clearly wasn't the case.
May I, through point of order, through the chair, I appreciate that, but there was, read every LAO report that's been put out. You referenced the current LAO report. It references the commitment that the two systems made to the governor to keep tuition flat. That may have been wrong, but I don't know any formal correspondence we sent to clarify and correct that. The budget that the CSU just passed, included in the budget passed last week, was that commitment, their understanding of that commitment. So I don't recall any op-eds we put out. I don't recall anyone standing up here in the last 2 years saying, we never, sir, agreed to that, Mr. Governor, as he was at every meeting at that agreement. So I appreciate that we're sort of, we quietly were suggesting, well, it's, we were never there, Governor, but there's sort of a mythology that there wasn't a presumption that there was an agreement. It was reinforced ad nauseum in the media, reinforced LAO reports, reinforced by other institutions. So I appreciate your point of view, but there's a reason the Department of Finance believes that they had an agreement. And there's a reason the LAO office
quite frankly, if the Director of Finance were still here, I'd be happy to call him up, and he would confirm the fact that there never was an agreement. We went through a number of iterations on documents that would be signed by, at that time, President Udoff, and at that time, either the Director of Finance or the Governor himself. And all those documents represented what I just told you. Yet, at no point in time were we able to come to an agreement on what that final outcome would be. So I'm just laying out the facts as they stand.
Well, I'm laying them out as well, that there were very public pronouncements that there was an agreement. You may have disagreed with it, but my point is, it's neither here nor there. I mean, this becomes a trivial point. I know it's a point of pride for you to make the point. So I appreciate the response, the physiological, not just rhetorical response. But I do just submit that when you have multiple LAO reports that reference a deal, you have other institutions, it does suggest there was an agreement.
My suggestion, my recommendation is, Patrick, please go out and dig up the information that you're aware of, share it with us, and we'll clarify this. We'll clear it up.
No reason to share. I'm just reacting to Patrick's statement. This is not an issue that I was even wanting to broach, but I do think there are good people that disagree on this, and it's a point of respect to both sides, and you've certainly expressed your point of view. I think the other side has as well, and I'm just defending the other point of view.
Regent-Newsom, you did bring up something. You said it was written in the report. That I'd like to see it. I'd like to understand that better. So, Patrick, if you can go ahead and get us that information.
Happy to do that, Mr. Chairman.
So.